we on? Okay, welcome to your guided tour of Commodore business machines. For those of you who've never been here, this is your chance to get a guided tour of the facilities and all the important people who have to do with the development, the production, and the support of the Commodore Amiga computer. Does that sound professional or what?
That sounds great.
This is the lobby. This is where our guests, when they come to visit Commodore employees, are first greeted. And this wonderful woman here is Dottie. She's our receptionist. She greets all the employees and also helps answer phone calls when we get overburdened. Say a few words to the folks at home, Dottie. I'll just say hi, that'll do.
Hi.
There we go. Okay. Hi, welcome inside the production facilities at 1200 Wilson Drive, Commodore Business Machines. We're now going to take you on a guided tour of a few of our assembly lines and show some of our products in production and also show you how these things are assembled and tested by our fine quality assurance department. Okay, now we're inside of our production facilities here, and what we're going to show you behind us here, people have the already assembled Amiga 500. They're putting them in the boxes, getting all the labels mounted on them. Over the next step, they're putting in the manuals, they're doing the final static protection on them, and they're doing the final sealing of them in the boxes the way they're shipped and stacking on the skids prepared for shipment. Okay, and can we stop you? Yeah, we're just stopping the woman on the street here to find out what she thinks about. Oh no, seriously, folks, this is Gail Wellington. And your title, Gail?
Chief in charge of miscellaneous and assorted.
Mrs. Big Guy. We're going to move into Gail's office now and do an in-depth interview. As you can see, so she's very busy, as usual, so we're going to have to stop back to conclude this interview with Gail later. Right now, we're going to move on to other members of the CATS team. The old foot in the door, I learned that when I sold car insurance.
Is it what you're doing and all that good stuff?
It's just for the developers conference. Huh? Do it. Oh, well. What we're doing here is we're rolling a film, and we're taking the developers who've never been to Commodore business machines, and we're taking them on a guided tour of our facilities, and also a guided tour of all the important key personnel that have very important roles in the future, the support, and the development of the Commodore Amiga computer. You, as one of those key individuals, have been selected to win glorious prizes and be on our videotape. That's right. This is the famous Lauren Brown. I'm sure many of you people out there maybe have never seen her before, but you've probably used her name in a number of sentences in different forms. And now's your chance to meet her and for her to tell you what she thinks of you.
Hi. Bye. Really?
And that's it, Lauren? That's all you really want to say to these developers?
They'll see me.
Oh, well, you guys may want to take a look here at Lauren's office. This is the usual state of it because she's a very busy gal, because you guys don't cut her a break. Okay, we got an answering machine. Use the darn thing. Thanks for the interview, Lauren. We'll be getting back to you then. This is Patsy. She's our department secretary. She takes care of filling all those orders and all the not trivial, excuse me. I shouldn't say this stuff. She takes care of all the other details that you guys put on her. She takes care of all our dirty work. We need somebody to do that for us.
Of course.
She's a very important part. And when you people call and you can't get through to Lauren, or you call the CATS team, and you need an order trace down, you need a developer's number, you need an RA number, all that stuff that you guys need, this is the gal to keep in mind next time you're calling every day of the week wanting to know where that number is. This is the poor gal that we have to pest to find out for that information. I think we're on phone. Are we rolling right now? Okay, I guess we're rolling. So your name is Rich McIntyre.
Rich McIntyre.
That's okay. A lot of people freeze on film for their first time. It's fine. I'll help you out. I'll roll you through this. Okay. And your title here?
Rich McIntyre.
No. That's your name, Rich. We're looking for your title this time.
My title?
Yeah.
Vice President of Sales and Marketing.
Good title. Good title. I like that one.
Yeah.
And this film that we're shooting now is for our Amiga developers. So if you have
Gentlemen,
anything,
keep working.
That's right.
Could you all make it compatible, please, so I could use one with the other?
Good word. Any other thing you'd like to say to these developers before we shuffle off to our next victim or our next interviewee in our...
No, I think that about covers it. More software that works together would definitely be a plus.
All right. Thank you for your time, Rich.
Only Amiga makes it possible.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to enter the office of John Campbell. John Campbell is the manager here, and he's in charge of software, some sort or the other. Come on into his office, and we'll find out exactly what John's duties are. Hi, John. Good morning. What is your title here, John?
I try to keep track of you.
All right.
That's more than any man can handle.
That's probably more than anybody should have to do, including my wife. John, this tape is for our developers at the DevCon conference where you've already been, they've already got to meet you because this tape's going to be shown after it's all over. to the poor individuals who are left. And you have anything you'd like to say to them as to what your duties are, how you interact to them, where you become a key individual when they have a product that's ready for marketing or attempting to market a product?
My role in Commodore is really very simple, just to make sure that third parties can get their product into the marketplace without any difficulty. And of course, that's easier said than done.
Very good, John. Sounds like a job that has a lot of challenge, a lot of depth, and keeps you out of trouble for most of the day.
And a lot of paperwork.
Yes, it's a lot of paperwork you'll notice on John's desk. What is this? Dear John, pick up a loaf of bread. Oh, okay, John, thank you for your time. We know you're very busy. We don't want to keep you up. Or, tie you up. That's what we meant. Yeah, not keep you up. We know you're not going to sleep.
I think you're in the wrong movie.
We got a cable here. We can tie you right up in this chair. Okay, we're coming into the office here of
Nancy Raines.
Right, and Nancy's doing for us, she's updating our ROM kernel manual so that all you developers can get the latest, hottest information on 1.3. It's going to be correct. Right, Nancy?
I hope so.
That's right. And do you have anything you'd like to tell the developers as to information that you'd like to hear from them or other things on the future implementation of these newly revised and fantastic manuals?
Well, Carolyn Shepner has put a request on VIX for people who might be interested in providing sample programs. Also, at this stage, we could really use advice and input on how they'd like the manuals arranged. We'll be turning in the first manual at the time of the developers conference, but there will be another 3 manuals, the second ROM kernel, the hardware, and the intuition manuals that will follow.
Okay, very good. And rumor has it, my cameraman Bill Kester here tells me that you have an interesting something that you can do that you'd like to demonstrate for us on film. Is that true?
Well, unfortunately, the sun is down, so I will be unable to demonstrate that.
Oh, okay. Sorry to hear that. Thank you for your time. Okay. Inside the office here, the famous Dan Baker, one of the software engineers here in the CATS team. Say a few words, Dan, for the software developers.
Hi, Bill. How's it going?
Great, Dan.
Good conversation, guys.
Hope to see everybody in Washington, D.C. How's that?
I'd like to tell these people how you directly interface and interrelate with the developers when they call for technical support and what some of the other important duties are here at Commodore?
I prefer not to, if that's okay with you, Dan.
Hey, that's fine with us. We're just running around wasting film. No, thanks for your time, Dan. We know you're busy. The phones are ringing. I hear them now, and I can see that you're busily keeping up with Usenet and supporting the people. But, oh, I saw that's not Usenet. That's actually Bix. Dan's online on Bix, offering more developer support. Thanks for your time, Dan. We don't want to interrupt you and hold you up anymore. Okay, now we're outside of the office of Carolyn Shepner, one of the senior CATS members team. Senior CATS staff member, whatever, you know, something like that. Come on in here. This is Carolyn. Carolyn, say a word to all the developers. Okay, that was pretty good. Now, would you like to explain to these people like what your duties are and how you interface and interrelate with the developers? And your role here as a software engineer and member of the CATS support team?
No.
Okay, that's easy enough. But is there anything you'd like to say in closing to these people?
I'll say something.
Like,
Say something.
like, don't keep calling me and testing me. Let me alone. I got work to do. Or I really like when you call. Or like, what's your favorite thing that developers do to you?
Favorite thing?
See, that's a tough.
I like when they call with simple questions.
Yeah. See that, guys? Keep it simple. And what's the thing that they do that most aggravates you? Or can't you say that on film?
When they whine.
I love when they whine. I can't get this to work. Can I follow the example in the book? That kind of whining? Probably about it here, but okay. Well, we know you're busy, Carolyn. She's busy writing code here and important documentation to keep you guys out of trouble.
Yeah. If I work 60 or 70 hours a week, they let me write code in my spare time.
Well, not a bad deal. What do you think, guys? Okay, Carolyn. Thanks for your time, and we're gonna get out of your office and let you do some work.
Okay. And if you need some stupid pet tricks later, you can use Dino.
Stupid pet tricks. Good idea. We'll get back to that later. Okay. In the office of Becky Cotton. Becky Cotton is the advertising coordinator. Correct me if I get this wrong.
You're wrong.
For
Advertising sales representative, thank you.
Oh, excuse me. Advertising sales representative.
For the new magazine.
For which
Amiga
magazine is that?
Solutions. Amiga Solutions.
Amiga Solutions. Do you have your subscription? If not, get them now. They're going fast. And you're also what title for Commodore magazine?
Advertising coordinator.
Ah, so I was right. It's just both. Buffaloing us. That's it, yeah. She's bull buffaloing us. That's what we're doing. So, Becky, do you have anything you'd like to say to developers in relationship to how they should contact you if they want to run advertising space in our magazine or anything?
Definitely. Should I get these?
No, I have to hold the microphone.
Okay.
The cable comes off. You may hold the cigar.
Okay. Amiga Solutions is the first hands-on publication to be produced by Commodore that's specifically for the Amiga. It's all high-end business, well, not high-end, bye Sue. It's all business applications for the professional Amiga users in terms of video, sound, graphics, you name it. So if you'd like to get more information about advertising in this wonderful publication, contact me at area code 215-431-9259.
Could you repeat that number again, Becky?
Area code 215-431-9259.
That number again, 215-431-9259. Thanks for your time, Becky.
No problem. Thank
Okay,
you.
this gentleman here is Jim Dickman. Jim Dickman, what's your title here?
Sales support
Sales support of what?
of PC 64128 Amiga for the military.
Ah, very good. You have that? Amiga for the military.
Our largest account.
Yes. This tape here is for our Amiga developers. Do you have any information you'd like to relay to the Amiga developers as how they could interface with you or get involved with Amigas and the military, or why they shouldn't buy an ugly tie like this? Anything like that you'd like to relay to them?
No, but what I'd like to say is if you have any kind of problem, you gotta call Dan here because he's the man with the knowledge. His home phone number is, what's your home phone number again? Saturday night? Saturday night. He's a married guy, he doesn't care.
Yeah, we're not doing anything anyway. So, okay, Jim, we thank you for your time because we know that you're busy drawing little pointers there on that screen.
Yeah, I wish I had an Amiga to do this.
It would make it much more easier. But
Much easier,
with a
yes.
tie like that, what do you expect?
Hey.
Okay, thanks for your time, Jim.
Batteries included.
Really? What was the price on that?
$9.99. That's $9.99. Call 1-800.
1-800-STUPID-TIE. That number again, 1-800-STUPID-TIE.
Yes. Now this is the tie. Now this is a tie for those people who don't know what a tie is. Okay. Something goes around the neck, makes it look professional.
Are you wasting our film there?
Sorry.
Okay, thanks. Okay, right now we're outside of the office of Mike Rivers. Mike Rivers is the technical editor, assistant technical editor, I'm sorry, for Commodore Magazine. Come in and check out the colorful decor of this office. You'll notice here we've got trees. Over here we've got flying cars above the mountains. Behind me here we have this scenic river scene, this endless going.
Okay, all right. That's enough. Somebody call security.
This is Dave Berezowski. Dave Berezowski is our resident printer driver expert. This tape, Dave, is for our developers at the DevCon conference.
Oh, great.
Would you like to say something to these guys about writing printer drivers or anything important you'd like to relay to them?
Well, if I tell them about writing printer drivers now, they won't want to come to the DevCon conference.
They're not going to see this tape till after they've seen you.
Okay, well, in that case, I hope you got everything out of my conference that you wanted to. Hopefully I told you everything there is to know about writing drivers. I don't know.
And if they have any questions or problems, can they call you, or what's the best way to leave you mail, or where should they leave you mail? How should they contact you? If they have
Okay,
a
you
problem?
can contact me on Usenet at Dave B at CBMVax. I'm also on Bix. I think I'm under D Berezowski, which is DBEREZOWSKI. I sign on both places every day. And yeah, if you have any questions about writing drivers, or more importantly, if you're an application programmer and you want to know how to best use the printer device, especially the dump rport command, please give me a call. I want you guys to get the most out of it. There's a lot of features in there, and we really need to pass that information on to you guys so that the user gets the most out of your programs.
Okay, Dave, so thank you for your time, and we won't hold you up anymore.
Great.
Okay. Eric Cotton. Eric Cotton's a member of the Commodore Amiga Software Development Division. Would you like to say anything to the developers, Eric, about things that they should be aware of, or other important things to keep an eye on with 1.3?
Not particularly.
Okay, that was well put, I have to admit. Was there any key points, like maybe the 100 most common programming mistakes that you'd like to relay to these guys, or...
Read Ganson's article. Great article in the Amiga.
Yeah. And one thing, though, that I'd like to mention, I don't know if our cameraman can zoom in on this or not. But I'd like you to see this little figure right over here. If you guys could just zoom in on that for a second. Can you get that, cameraman? Okay, that's Gilligan. That's all I wanted to point out. And we thank you for your time.
Well, for
here,
pointing
Rick.
out figures, there's one figure I'd like to point at.
Yeah, if you can get a close-up of that figure there, it's really not that bad either. Okay, Rick, thanks for your time. Okay. We're interviewing two people here who are important members of our documentation staff. One person who's an important member of our documentation staff. This is Isabel. Isabel, you tell folks at the Developers Conference what you do here at Commodore? Camera's that way there.
Are you serious?
Sure, we're rolling.
Is this going to be edited? I
No.
write the manuals. I track the manuals for production. I deal with all the Germany engineers around this place. Did I say that? Yeah.
No, they're probably watching by now, but that's okay. So, if the developers have a question about a manual or a problem or a correction or an addition, should they contact you, or how should they go about contacting Commodore to make sure that future revisions of the manual contain these corrections?
They should put it on the net. How's that?
Which net is this?
Ah, good one. Comsys Amiga, yes.
Okay, and should they mark it to your attention, or can they mail you your
Yeah,
Commodore
they could
Amiga?
email me.
And your mail address at CBMVax is?
Izzy. I-Z-Z-Y.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to swing the camera over here. Did you move it already? That was a tough move for that camera, man, I'm telling you.
Yes, this is tough.
Yes. The camera's that way, Barb. This is Barb Feldman. Barb, would you like to tell folks the number of title? I can't remember it.
Sure, I sometimes have a hard time remembering it too. It's Manager of Worldwide Product Support.
Ooh, I like it. And would you like to tell the developers actually what your duties are here at Commodore, or more specifically how they relate to the Commodore Amiga and the developer community?
Okay, well, I have two main tasks. One is to be the liaison between all the sales and marketing groups worldwide and engineering and manufacturing. And the second main job is to track products and to alert people when things are slipping and what needs to get done next and so on.
So basically you would not have a direct interface or relationship with the developers then, but you're part of the important people behind the scenes that make the developers things happen.
I hope so.
All right. We thank both of you for your time. We realize Wellington here, who we've already got her title, and earlier we had to postpone our interview because she was busily on the phone helping developers with support. Yeah, what we'd like to know is a couple of your duties and the way they relate to the developer community.
Well, I'm responsible for Commodore's frequent flyer program. You know, you always talk to the interviewer,
Oh,
not
excuse me.
the camera.
Okay.
You asked the question.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I did.
I'm responsible for Commodore's frequent flyer program. It's my job to see how many miles it's possible for a Commodore employee to log in any one year.
Oh, very good. And how many miles have you logged so far this year?
I'm afraid to count, but I've made 3 trips to Europe, 1 to the West Coast, 1 to Canada, and several trips to New York City to visit our fearless leader.
Ah, and our fearless leader is?
Uncle Irving Gould.
That's the gentleman, yes. What are like some of the common annoyances, bugs, problems, questions that developers relay to you that you could give them some kind of general advice so that they can handle matters maybe a little bit more on their own before they have to come to you?
Well, the most frequent question that I get is, why doesn't anybody ever call me back? And the best advice I can give about that is, well, don't call.
That sounds good. We told them earlier to call Andy Finkel here in the hallway, and Andy's in charge of the Commodore Amiga software development team here at Commodore. I'd like to say a couple words to the software developers, Andy, about things they should be aware of or anything in general. No. Okay. Thanks, Andy.
No, you're welcome.
This gentleman
This
right
is a
here.
pen.
Excuse me. You're
That's
on
a
film,
pen.
sir.
That's a
You're on film.
pen. Come on, get out of here.
Ah, come on.
I already heard about you guys.
Oh,
I
wow.
was ready
Our
for you at
rumor?
lunch. I heard you were coming around and bothering people while they were eating lunch. I was going to take a taco and smash it in my mouth and have it coming down like that, but
Darn,
it just
we
didn't
missed
work. I definitely like the like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So,
Pretty cute.
can we
You know
interrupt
what I
you
like?
for a minute or two there for an interview? Are you too important?
I'm too important. This lunch is
But are you too busy? That's the key question.
I never do anything. So
Okay, there we go. Well, who would like to introduce here? This, I guess I'm not on the film.
My buddy.
We look pretty good together. We should hang around together more often. This is Headley Davis. Headley is part of our engineering team over here at Commodore. And Headley, would you like to explain to the developers here some of your important roles with developing products for the Amiga?
I have very few important roles with developing products for the Amiga. C64 forever.
There you go. So, is there anything else
No,
except for
Well, there's-
C64 Forever you'd like to
There's
relay to
the
these folks?
A2024, which is a high-resolution monochrome monitor that we use.
The famous Headley high-res system.
What is this for, really?
This is for the developers conference.
I see.
It's going to be shown there.
All right.
You're going to be there, so you'll get to see it, aren't you?
I can be embarrassed there, then. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
in person, right after you see this.
Okay. Well, is there anything else I can do for you? You said trying to beat a hasty retreat?
That's pretty much it. Well, thank you for your time. Okay. Inside of the Commodore engineering area, where we just finished interviewing a few of our engineers, this area is one of the most highest secure areas inside of Commodore. As you'll notice above me, if you get a shot of this, this is actually cameras that are guarding this door and watching who's entering and who's exiting, what you're entering and exiting with. These doors in front of me are locked at all times. This special thing here requires a security badge, which only certain individuals have access powers to get inside of here. We'll go in right now. Whoop, somebody left the door open. Okay. We're in the office here of Paul Higginbottom. And the long hair with Paul happens to be Pete Baxter. Pete's in charge of, what are you in charge of, Pete?
User group support.
That's right. And Paul, you're in charge of?
Amiga marketing.
That's right. Paul's a very important guy here, especially with you developers in relationship to the Amiga. Would you like to say anything to the developers as far as what kind of relationship you have with them, where you would interface with them, any important dealings you would have with them?
Amiga developers shouldn't just look at Amiga products, they should look at products on other machines as well.
Very good point, Paul. And Pete, do you have any word for the developers on maybe how they could use or how they could make more benefits out of the user groups?
Well, by getting in touch with the user groups, they'll be able to possibly have an instant market for the product. They can call me, get the names of local groups, and if they know of any new groups, definitely call us and let us know about those too.
And the people who are in user groups also often represent a lot of professions, not just hackers operating the machines.
Good
It would
point.
be a useful source of research.
Okay, anything you guys would like to say in closing to the developers?
Have a good time at the shop.
Best of luck.
Okay, thank you guys. Okay, right now we're in the middle of the Commodore customer support area where end users, consumers who have complaints or problems can call and get help. This is that infamous number, 436-4200, that everybody says no one is ever there or answers the phone. We're here to prove there actually are people here. I don't know if they're answering the phone, but we'll find out. Over this way, we have one of the customer support representatives. His name is Greg. Greg, would you like to say anything to the developers about that you guys are really here and answering the phone?
We're definitely really here. We really appreciate, though, if the developers call these guys, because we can't handle your phone calls.
Good point, Greg. Yes, if you are a developer and you're a certified or commercial developer with Commodore, you were given specific information where to call to get your support or where not to call to get your support. Please follow those guidelines. Now we'd like to move along here and just show a few of the people in this area that are actually hard at work. Here we have another one of our customer support representatives, Creepy Carvis. And you can see that he's busily working here. He's filling out forms, taking care of records of the calls of the day and stuff. So as you can see, there actually are people here. We're now going to do a quick cut and then move over to the other side where we'll actually show representatives live on the phone. Okay. The area where the customer support representatives are actually taking the phone, are supposed to be taking the phone call. For some reason, all the representatives, oh, here comes one of those representatives now. But usually, this whole area is just busily bustling with people. On the average, you'll find 30 to 50 people in here during the day answering phone calls. Non-stop. These people are here from 6 in the morning till 8 at night. Okay, so you're maybe not here quite as many hours as I mentioned, but you're here pretty many hours. And here you can see, if you can get a close-up of this phone off the hook here, you'll notice that our customer support representatives are here. So when you call and nobody answers these phones, just remember, you've seen these people, they do exist, they're here. One of our temporary help people here. Before I fall over all this shit.
It has a barricade in her office
to
keep this thing out.
That we need help here because we're continually swamped with orders, new development information and stuff for the Commodore developers. We're always trying to support you. Would you like to say anything to the developers about all this important information that you're doing here?
Well, I know it's broadening the horizons in my life.
There you go. And we certainly hope that it's broadening your horizons as developers as well. And now we're in the hallway, heading back towards engineering here, and this is just a scene of some of the activity and frustration that goes on here in Commodore. Get a few of the people accessing some of our exciting vending machines here in the hallway of Commodore. You can see that they're getting exciting things like sodas, cigarettes, candy, chips. But Commodore is not a boring place. The hallway here with Jeff Porter and Joe Morlino. Jeff's Mr. Big Guy in charge of engineering. And Joe, what's your title?
Little guy in charge of engineering.
Oh, this is Big Guy. He's Big Guy in charge of support for the Northeast area.
Dealer
of our
training.
Dealer training, that's
The
right.
Mid-Atlantic Division? That's right.
Yes. And
And Greater Northeast.
How do you interrelate or interface with the developers, or what do you have to do with the developer community, Joe?
What do I have to do with the developer?
Do you have any information that
Well,
you
what I would do,
pass along to our developers?
I do a lot of, I demonstrate a number of their products at shows, as well as train some of our fine dealers with their new packages.
So if a developer had a product that he'd like you to demonstrate at a show or get you to teach it to some of our dealers, how would he go about contacting you to make sure that you were aware of this product and get a copy of the product to you?
He could call me here at Commodore, and my extension's 9311.
Okay, now we're going to interview Jeff. And
Boy.
Jeff's a very important guy here. Jeff has a lot to do with the development of Commodore products and the future development of upcoming products. Can you give us any insight or give the developers any kind of insight, Jeff, as to new exciting products or changes that we have in works for the Amiga?
Oh, well, we have mighty fine things in store for '88. You know, some of those things have been previewed at the last Comdex show. The 2024 high-res monochrome monitor, the
Headley high-res?
The quote-unquote Headley high-res. Yes, I don't know whether we'll be able to strip that moniker off the product before it comes out, but yeah, that's what we call it internally. The 68020 card, which is called an A2620, gives you lots of performance and all this other kind of stuff. Of course, we have a whole sundry of video products like a A2300 Genlock, and hopefully in the future an A2350 PVA, which should keep my phone from ringing off the hook about people that want to do things with the Amiga and just can't. Let me see, what are some of the other neat things that we've got? Of course, the complete complement of PC-compatible products, but you guys don't care about that. That's about it, I guess.
Okay, well, do you actually have anything to do with the developer community in the line of a direct connection? I mean, do they have any reason to actually contact you? Or
For some reason, if the guys are too cheap to like pay the $25 developer fee, they usually try and call me up.
$50, Jeff, sorry.
Oh, is that $50?
$50.
Okay, well, gee, it seems awfully small to me, but they usually try and call me up. Now, that is a, you know, a trial and error basis.
No thing, right?
Yeah, that's a non-supported thing. You know, I tell them to pay their money and then we answer the questions.
Okay, well, we thank both of you guys for your time. You were great. And if you'd like to say a closing comment to the developers at the conference here?
Just thank you for your support.
Keep up the good work.
Okay, inside of the office is Steve Beats. He's the guy who's responsible for our famous fast filing system. Come on in, we'll meet Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi.
We're filming a little tape here for the developers who by now already know you, and they know that you're a prima donna and a definite Amiga guru. Because they've been through your lectures and they know all about the fast file system and they're overly impressed with it. So what would you like to say to the developers maybe about the fast file system or something that they should be keeping in mind?
God, you ask difficult questions.
Well, how about just any kind of general information that you'd like to relay to the developers of maybe an important tip that you may have picked up along your many years of programming experience? Okay, maybe like the top 100 mistakes that developers make when they program. Maybe you'd just like to say hi to them.
Hi.
Okay. And is there anything in general though you'd like to say to them that like they're doing a good job, or don't call me and bug me, I'll call you, or here's my phone number if you want me to call me, or
phone number is definitely unlisted. It's called here.
unless yeah, you can't see Steve's phone number here.
Yeah,
he
right.
definitely does not need to be called. He's a busy man. You know. Would you like to give him any insight into any super new stuff that we're going to be coming out with that we can relay to
Rumors
them?
about the A5000. I mean,
Yeah.
Let's call it here.
It's over there?
No.
Okay. No, you can't see that.
This is really nuts. I mean,
Okay, well,
I can't believe it. I'm going to have subjected myself to like how many
But
days of meetings?
the key is, have you had a good time here today?
Today?
Right now, in
Right
this
now.
interview, have you not had a great time?
No, actually, I haven't really been. I'm fixing a bug in the fast filing system right now, which of course won't.
Cut that. It was not a bug. No. It was a feature that we're changing. It's not a bug.
Yes, right. A benefit. Benefit.
Right.
We don't have
It was a
features,
benefit that we're
benefits.
changing. That's right.
Right.
Okay, Steve. Well, we can see that you're busy here. You've got. Can you get a close up of this really important program that Steve has running back here? You can see that's an exciting
Actually, yes,
demo.
I do. You notice all development is done on Amiga 2000.
Yes. Can we
It's
get a
wonderful
close up of that?
sun over
This
here.
sun is running the fabulous
It's running
Worm demo.
Life.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you notice that Steve does do all native development on an Amiga 2000. Very important point. I'm glad you brought that up, Steve.
Right.
Okay,
That's
well,
the
we
one
thank
good
you for
thing.
your time. We won't hold you up. We know that you've got plenty of work to do
Who's
over
going to
here.
interview him?
Oh, we've got a surprise waiting for him.
Ah.
Thanks for your time, Steve.
Okay. Goodbye.
Okay. Assurance area of Commodore Amiga. This is the rear area. Talk louder? Okay. Right now we're in a quality assurance area here of Commodore. These guys are located close to the CAT staff so that they can make sure that all the products that you guys receive have been tested thoroughly, that there are no bugs and problems with this. Right now we're going to enter this office and meet one of those quality assurance people. This guy's name is Jerry. Hey, Jerry, maybe you'd like to say a few words to some of the Amiga software developers and tell them some of the torturous tests that you guys put the Commodore equipment through before these guys actually get it.
Who do I have to sleep with to get edited out of this?
Oh no, there's none of that stuff. This is, maybe you'd like to see some scenes around here. You can see that Jerry has some of the equipment here. He has it in various stages of opening so that he can get in and actually see some of the physical hardware, how it works, and really get in there to decipher any kind of bugs and problems. Can you tell us any recent problems or anything that you've come up across here that the Amiga developers would be interested in?
Well, let's see. Probably by the time they see this, it'll be an old bug, so.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. That should take care of you guys. Evidently, as we've noticed here in our QA department, there are no problems with the Amiga. It's perfect. Thanks, Jerry. Okay. Down here in our tour of Commodore business machines, and now we're going to take you into the office of our famed cameraman, Bill Kestner. As you can see, this wall here is an array of pictures that Bill has printed out on the famous Textronics color printer that he himself has written the printer driver for. I have you know that since these pictures have gone up on the wall, property value in this neighborhood is going way down. Let's step into Bill's office and actually meet him. Keep in mind, Bill's running the camera, so we couldn't get Bill here. Well, we've got a substitute, and this gentleman here is named Tom. He's going to fill in and portray just like he's Bill. By now, you all know what Bill looks like as the conference over, but just pretend this is Bill. It's like you're back in kindergarten, just pretend.
I'll really pretend I'm Bill here.
Okay? Get off.
You don't have a hat, do you? I can wear it.
You can borrow my hat if you want.
Hi, I'm Bill. I just recently wrote this printer driver for this Tektronix printer. It does some unbelievable output. Let me give you an example. Look at this baby. Another one ready for the wall. I think it's a fine printer myself.
There goes the property value.
Property value going to increase on that one. I don't know what else I can tell you. I wish I was behind the camera and Bill was actually here for you, but since that can't possibly be.
Okay, well, we thank you for filling in for Bill.
My pleasure.
And we'd like to say to all you guys, we're going to make one more quick stop, and then we're going to do our final goodbye. Okay? Excuse me, sir. This is the second to last stop here on our tour. This gentleman right here is Mike Culligan. He's in charge of our QA division up here. What's your title, Mike?
Supervisor of Software Quality Assurance.
That's right. And Mike's in charge. I know you've all remembered Jerry that we met earlier who wanted to sleep with somebody. Okay, Mike's in charge. You didn't hear that, but you'll get that later.
Did you say that?
Mike's in charge of him and a few other gentlemen who at the present time aren't around. And
with Dan. You have to sleep with Dan to get out of this.
Mike's going to mention to a couple of you developers some of the important things that the QA department checks and maintains when they test your software for compatibility with our hardware.
What was the question?
Thanks, Mike. Great job. Okay, guys, so remember, if you have any questions as far as compatibility problems, he's the guy to talk to. Okay. So my office, as you can tell here by, excuse me, I'm on my cord. Can you get a close-up of this? That's me. I'm Dan. You see, this is the famous Boeing jacket. These jackets can be ordered. If you have any questions, see either me or Dale Luck after this tape is finished for order forms for this jacket. I'd like to take you now into my office and show you some of my humble abode. This is it. This is the hideout of an average CATS staff member. You've seen Bill's office, you've seen Carolyn's office, you've seen Dan's. Well, now you see the other Dan's office. As you can see, we too do all our development work on Amigas. Over here, I'd like to show you an Amiga 1000 that you'll notice is open. The reason that Amiga 1000 is open is so that we can get in there and do any kind of actual adjustments, modifications, or tests that have to be done at the hardware level. Over here is my 2000 that I use for development work. And over here is another A1000 that we're testing. If you notice, we use several different brands of third-party monitors to test for compatibility. And as far as Bridgeport compatibility, which this machine happens to have one of, over here we have one of our newly introduced PC-10-3s, which we also test for compatibility to make sure that everything works well together.
Don't you guys ever do any work?
That's scale. Okay, right now we're ready to leave. We're going to give you our final goodbye, but before we leave, I'd like to show you this flag that we have flying here. This is to show that Commodore stands for anti-piracy. That's right, we are against it. As you will have noticed if you attended our conference on software development, marketing, and piracy. Okay, that's been the Grand Tour Commodore Amiga here today. I hope you guys have had a good time, enjoyed yourself, had a couple laughs. You met most of the CAT staff, you met most of the important people here at Commodore that are behind the scenes, and a lot of you don't get to meet, that have to do important jobs with the development, production, and making sure that you get the Amiga. Right now I'd like to introduce into the picture here our real cameraman. This is Bill Kester. He's the guy who's really been doing the camera work all day while I've been walking around having fun. And we hope that
that's all you get to see of me.
Right. We hope that you've had as much fun watching this tape as we've had making it. Take care. Drive carefully on the way.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Commodore welcomes you to Lincoln Center. My name is Bob Truckenbrode, Vice President of Marketing for Commodore. And I will be your host for what promises to be a very exciting exhibition. For tonight is the world premiere of Amiga.
Good evening. What you are about to witness is the result of an effort of research and engineering that began in 1982 and which to date has consumed over 100 man-years of engineering talent, the Amiga computer. On this screen, at the upper right, you see the icon for the workbench disk, which we used to start the system. To the side of it, you find a window containing the icons of the top drawer of that disk. You see the clock and preferences tools, utility programs available under the workbench. And you see a selection of drawers containing other tools, projects, or other drawers. At Amiga, the user controls how he uses his time, not the computer. To give you another perspective, I'd like to bring up TextCraft, the word processor of the Amiga computer. TextCraft has a very rich user interface involving menus, cursor icons which change shape depending upon what portion of the screen you're operating in, and a very rich graphical display to make sure that the user always understands what is going on. Let's talk a little bit more about the graphics that the Amiga computer can produce. We're going to bring up a test pattern showing all 4,096 colors of the Amiga computer on screen simultaneously. I'd like to bring up one more static image. This is an image that's been in the graphics community for some time, the infamous mandrel, shown here in 640 by 400 pixel resolution. Now for one other item. All of these pictures you've been seeing have not only been brought up in screens, they've been brought up in windows. In fact, there are 2 copies of the mandrel up there. I wouldn't want to meet that in the dark alley. The static graphics of the Amiga computer are impressive. But the real exciting thing on the Amiga is its dynamic or moving graphical images. Operating in screens, hardware area fill. As you can see, the screen system works even with dynamic graphics. Firmware support for the area fill system handles the general case, including crossing edges and islands. The Amiga computer is a true multitasking computer. In the upper left, a printing application. On the right, a sorting application with variable fonts. Graphics in the middle, and word processing at the bottom. What does this mean from a practical standpoint? It means that a user can bring up displays faster than ever before. It means that a user can control his own path through an analysis of a business or engineering problem. We're going to bring up a couple of 3-dimensional charts for you now to show you what I mean. The interesting thing about these charts is that they're being built from data built into the program. This really is how long it takes to build a chart like this once the data has come in off the disk. There, a bar chart, now a pie chart. All running in windows, in screens. They're both there at the same time. You can switch back and forth between them at will until you get all of the information you need to out of them. Anything that can be displayed on the Amiga can be created on the Amiga. Equally exciting is the sound generating capability of the machine. The Amiga contains 4 hardware sound channels, each capable of reproducing arbitrary waveform polyphonic sound. And with all 4 of these channels going simultaneously, the 68,000 is idle. But let me give you just a taste of the types of sounds the Amiga computer can produce. Here we have a sound sampler program. Let's try the claves. The bass capabilities of the Amiga computer exceed the reproduction capabilities of most people's stereos. This is best demonstrated with a percussion sound, like the tom-tom. We even have a few outrageous sounds on here. My favorite is the power chord. The sound system of the Amiga computer is capable of generating many more sounds than those you just heard. It's also capable of generating speech, a system which truly speaks for itself.
This is the Commodore Amiga personal computer speaking. I can speak in the male voice. And the female voice. I can speak very quickly. And I can speak slowly. I can speak in a very expressive voice. Or I can change the mode and speak in the monotone just like a real computer.
The real power of the Amiga computer comes in what we would call animation. Depending upon your perspective, you might call it real-time dynamic analysis or simulation. What it involves is the generation of synchronized, high-performance dynamic graphics, synchronized with sound and multitasking. I'd like to bring up one more animation now. This one, Robo City. There's quite a lot going on in this image. If you look at the right times, you'll see animation on top of animation on top of animation with correct saving and restoring of the background. You see multitasking going on here. The fire hydrant and the dog that don't like each other are separate tasks doing a proximity check. Again, all written on top of the standard support routines, given away with every Amiga computer. You know, it's hard. It's hard to be innovative in an industry which has been dominated by one technology for so long. We at Commodore Amiga knew that to do this, we would have to be at least an order of magnitude better than anything anyone had ever seen. We've done that. And then we decided, why stop there? Why not include that older technology in what we had already done? And so we did that too. The result is this: the emulator, which turns your Amiga computer into an IBM personal computer. Yes, it's done in software. How does it work? That's a secret. How well does it work? Judge for yourself. This is an IBM PC-DOS system disk. And this is a data disk from an IBM PC. And this is a program that I think at least a few of you in the room are probably familiar with. Lotus 123. Standard vanilla IBM DOS. At this point, we'll swap in the Lotus system disk and switch over to Lotus. I apologize for the delay, but it takes exactly as long to load 123 on an Amiga computer as it takes on an IBM PC. Now we're going to load in a data file off of that IBM data disk I showed you a moment ago. This is an income statement of the famous Acme Widget Corporation. As you can see, they're anticipating a loss in 1985, but we've changed the cost of goods sold for them, and with a simple recalculation, they make a profit. Traditionally, we end all demos of the Amiga computer with one of our original graphic demos, produced way back in '84. It's an old standby, but still one of my favorites. In living color, on multiple screens, follow the bouncing ball. Well, there you have it, the Amiga computer. We've lived our dream and seen it come to life. Now it's your turn. What will you do with the Amiga computer? Thank you.
We have asked our resident Amiga artist, Jack Hager, to sit in with them.
Are you ready to paint me?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here tonight to help assist Andy do his first computer portrait using the Amiga computer. First off, Andy is going to take a digital snapshot of Debbie, which is running on this system, and you can see the image up there on that screen. And we just select the image and it comes down. You found it to be very spontaneous, haven't you?
Yeah, it's great. It's such a great thing.
What more can you say?
Well,
I can
there's
say
a lot of things.
Oh, that looks very good.
So now we'll do the hair. So we'll go up the color and pick yellow.
Andy is selecting from the menu bar, which gives you all the features of the paint system, and he's selecting fill. And this is a slow version of the fill, just so you can see how Andy decides to work. Now this is an instance of a leaky flood film.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of pretty. I think I'll keep it.
Okay.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Well, with that piece being finished, Andy, I've been asked to give you an interview, forgive the pun. What computers have you worked on before?
Oh, I've worked on anything. I waited for this one.
Really?
Well, it's obvious that Amiga will be many things to many people. So many things, in fact, that we had to think long and hard to come up with a symbol, an emblem worthy of such a talented computer. In order to communicate Amiga's phenomenal animation components and color capabilities, we focused on classic beauty and truly superior performance. And tonight, on this stage, that emblem is about to come to life. Star of the night.
You want one word?
An Amiga? Right on.
Amazing Amiga, that's it.
I was going to say awesome, but that sounds like a cartoon.
Radical, and it's certainly a radical machine.
Awesome. One word? Amiga. Friend.
You know, I mean, that's what it means.
The Amiga has always belonged to the dreamers. It was invented by an eclectic band of individuals led by Jay Miner, a group that became close friends with an active sense of humor, an overactive work ethic, and an almost childlike enthusiasm. They set out to make their dream computer, one they'd like to use themselves, real cool, real fast, with lots of power and lots of whizzy demos. The team was brilliant, creative. Without a thought, they abandoned the stodgy conventions that said computers are computers and toys are toys. And whether you believe the Amiga is a game machine or a business machine, there's no denying that the combination of power and graphics was a revolution in computing. Only now are the other computers beginning to meet the standards that the Amiga inventors set almost 10 years ago. That original Amiga team created the machine. They brought to it their unique personality and put out something totally new. Their story is unique. It tells of entrepreneurship, passion, trust, courage, and friendship. It's a very personal story. It belongs to Jay and Dave and Carl, the four Bobs, and all the others at Amiga. It can't be told by anybody else, so when we decided to record the story, we brought the original members together, collected their personal photographs, and borrowed their home film footage. Here, in their own words, is the story of the making of the Amiga.
Well, it was in 1982. A friend of mine that I used to work with at Atari came to me and said, "Hey Jay, let's start a new company. I'm tired of this one." And I said, "Well, fine." I said, "I'll do the chips for it, and I'll be the vice president if I can do the chips my way." My original vision of the machine was as a low-cost entry into the computer field via the video game area. Video games at that time were really hot, and all our investors wanted was a video game. But I wanted something that could be expanded into a real computer. We got a vice president out from back east called Dave Morse, president rather, called Dave Morse, who was vice president of Tonka Toys, came out to be our president, and started a little company over on Scott Boulevard in Santa Clara called High Toro. And High Toro later got its name changed to Amiga Corporation.
High Toro, which is interesting. High meaning big, great, grand. Toro meaning bull.
The first thing I thought of when I saw that name was lawnmowers. And so I think that when they talked to other people about it, they got the same impression too, that it was a lawnmower company. So they changed it. And Amiga Corporation was what it was when I joined. And Amiga was, they chose the name Amiga because they were looking for something that meant friend or friendly.
But in Silicon Valley, there is an extremely high concentration of computer companies, and there's a lot of spying that goes on all the time, and people trying to take ideas from other people and trying to outdo one another. And so it's really important to conceal what you're doing and to, at least to not broadcast around the things that you're working on, especially with the project that we're working on, with the ideas that we had. We thought that we had a gold mine in our hands and that we were going to be able to do something really major with this idea. So we had to hide it as much as we could for as long as we could. And so they set the company up to the real world to look as if it was High Toro and then Amiga Computer, a company that made game peripherals. And the industry said, "What's that new company over there on Scott Avenue?" And they went and they looked with their binoculars in the window and they saw, "Oh, joysticks, no problem, okay." When I first interviewed at Amiga, it was very interesting. I was there to do a game machine. I got hired to work on, the next greatest game machine is going to be the greatest thing. And I'm talking with everyone, and I interviewed with everyone, and I talked with the hardware guys, and I talked with them, and I'm talking with Dave Morse, and he's giving me the spiel, the next greatest machine, and it's going to be wonderful, take the game industry by storm. And then I made my way back to Jay's office, and I'm talking with him to get a feel for the real, what the hardware's really like and stuff like that. And he's got a whiteboard behind him while we're talking, and it's, RAM and CPU and stuff like that. But there's this one little box that comes off in the corner that has KBD PRT on it. It's a keyboard port on a game machine? There's this other little box down here, EXT DRV, external drive on a game machine? So I go back, I talk to Morris and say, game machine, right? Game machine. Yeah, game machine. I go, Jay, game machine? Says, yeah, game machine. Yeah, game machine.
I was the first software guy that Bob Pariseau hired. And when I was hired as manager of entertainment software because I'd worked in the video game business. And I soon found out there are not a lot of starving startup companies that want to put aside all their other projects and work on a vaporware computer, which it totally was back then. And plus also I found out I'd much rather hack code than you know, try to get other people to hack code.
I was hired as the manager of operating systems. And the day I got there, actually, the day I was interviewed there, Bob Pariseau said to me, well, if you come here, you can design whatever operating system you want. I said, I'll do a multitasking operating system. So that's why I went to work at Amiga, was the multitasking operating system.
First, when I had my first interview, I had talked to the recruiter and she set up an interview. And, but I accidentally blew it off because I went to I forgot all about it. I went to an HP beer bust, which was important too. But I looked at my watch at 7 o'clock and I go, oh my gosh, I just missed an interview that I was really looking forward to go to. So the next day I called them up and said, well, gee, I'm real sorry. Can I have another interview? Can we schedule another time? And they said, oh, sure, fine. Just come on down whenever you can. And so I knew that there was a pretty good atmosphere there when that happened.
I'm interviewing with Gary McCoy, for whom I was supposed to work. And he takes me back into the software lab where everybody is all over everybody else. And I guess you guys were really used to giving demos to venture capital people and such. So I come through with Gary, and the talking heads are on, and I'm awestruck. I'm watching this thing. But it was very loud in there. Very loud and very warm. I mean, if it wasn't the voice, there were the fans in the background. And so I'm watching this, and Gary's getting very frustrated because he was proud of what we were seeing. And finally just exploded. Knock it off, he screams. And I was trying to calm him down. I'm interviewing for my job and pissing everybody off. So he says, I said, don't worry, Gary, I can understand. I can lip read. And so after the demo, Sam comes up to me and says, really? Could you read the lips? And I looked at him, I said, well, how close was it? Was it pretty close? I was joking, not to make Gary, but I thought, this is perfect. This is the best company to work for.
He wanted to read the lips. He was really working on that.
Well, now that Jay is here, I can tell the story in front of Jay, so he can agree that, in fact, it's true. Everybody seems to think Jay is the father of the Amiga. And when you look at Jay and the real father of the Amiga...
This on my badge.
Yes, that's so right on his badge. Even they made the same mistake. It's quite natural. One magazine back in the Amiga days got it right, but everybody laughed at it like it was some sort of a joke, but it was actually the truth. Jay was holding Mitchie in his arms. Right next to Mitchie, it said the father of the Amiga, and up here it said Jay. And yeah, this is Jay. This is the father of the Amiga. We knew inside that this was a true story because we're sitting there at our desk designing stuff, and Jay, who sat in front of us, was sitting at his desk designing stuff. And he'd get to some spot where he wasn't sure. Well, do I put this gate here? Do I put... And he thinks about it and see, draw a gate. He looked down at Mitchie. And Mitchie would go, and so he'd erase it. And he'd draw another gate. And he'd look down at Mitchie. Mitchie would go, and so then he would put that gate in. We know because we were there. Mitchie did the Amiga. Jay, Jay did the drawing. It's all right. It's okay. But I wanted you to be here so that you could not shoot me.
Well, allowing people to be different is terribly important. This guy would come to work in these huge, fuzzy bathroom slippers. Or bare feet. Yeah. Michael Plotnick would come to work in purple sweatpants. We could go on and on and on this way. I came to work with my dog, Everybody had something that they wanted to do. And who cares, as long as you get the work done.
There was magic. I can't describe it. From the day I walked in and I saw that demo and I saw everybody contributing, cooperating, always a smile, always the optimistic attitude and care for somebody else's happiness and participation and success. One person was not going to let somebody else fail because that would mean the failure of the whole project.
We were trying to find people that had fire, that had a spirit, that had a dream that they were trying to accomplish. Carl Sassenrath, the guy that did the exec for the machine, he, was his lifelong dream to do a multitasking operating system that would be a work of art, that would be a thing of beauty. Dale Luck, the guy that did the graphics, this was his undying dream since he was in college to do this incredible graphic stuff. And we were looking for people with that kind of passion, that kind of spirit, and more than anything else, the thing that we were looking for was someone that was for people who were trying to make a mark on the world, not just in the industry, but on the world in general. We're trying to get we're trying to look for people that really wanted to make a statement, that really wanted to do an incredibly great thing, not someone who was just looking for a job.
We worked in what we call the software cave, which was a room about, I'd say, about 30 feet by 15 feet or 20 feet. I started about in August of '83. There was no hardware still. There was just some drawings on a whiteboard. Most of the hardware, in terms of the Blitter, the Agnes chip, the Porsche chip, and the Daphne chip, had already been designed. Now those Daphne and Porsche you probably may not have heard of, but those were earlier versions of the Denise and Paula chip.
We had the board all laid out and everything, and all the architecture based on 512K RAM. Commodore came around and said, "Can't you make a 256K RAM? 512K RAM is so expensive today." I said, "Look, RAM is going to come down." But no. I said, "Well, it can't be done. I'm sorry." So I just went off. I went off. I come back a week later, find out, guess who told him how to do it? Guess who actually did it for him? Made 256K. You know that plug-in on the front? Here's the culprit right here. I've never forgiven him for that.
PC came out at 16. Okay, the original PCs were coming out at 16K. And I had a PC at home, and so I was praying, Jay, make it 64K at least. Please, 64K at least.
512K from the start in terms of socket capability.
Right.
Okay? Now, you don't have to plug all those chips in if you want to make it cheaper.
Right.
But at least you got the holes there that the guy can plug them into later. And the architecture with that as a basis for the software. You follow me? But no, the cost of those sockets were about 3 cents a piece. And that was too expensive for Commodore and other people.
I owned an IBM PC at home, and I programmed on the IBM PC. And when I crashed my IBM PC, the screen went dark, and it would reboot sometimes, or you'd have to turn it off, actually, and turn it back on. And about that same time, Macintosh, was coming out, and they had this little bomb. I'd heard about their little bomb that came up on the screen. I thought, that's kind of interesting, coming up with some sort of indication that your software failed, that your machine failed. And I sat down and I thought about it, and I thought, you're going to have a sense of humor. If your machine fails like this, it's like, and you've lost 2 hours worth of editing, you're going to want to laugh about this somehow. So we put it in there. The machine crashed then for Martin Shabilsky, I think, in his office. The machine crashed, and he saw this thing come up. It said Guru Meditation. And he said, "What is this? Take this out right now." and so I took it out, and it said software failure. And all of a sudden, so a new version of the system went out that said software failure, and everyone was like depressed. Well, it was like, put the Guru Meditations back in. And so we did it without permission. We just put it back in.
That's right. All the developers, what did you do? It's a software failure. What is that? So we just put it back. We didn't ask. We just did it.
I can remember one of the first the large users group meetings I went to, where people would go up there and they'd show their programs, their software that they wrote in front of the group. And of course, whenever it would crash, the Guru Meditation would come up, and everyone would be chanting, "Guru, Guru, Guru." Now, they wouldn't be chanting software failures.
We made a lot of design decisions that were wrong if you say we're selling a personal computer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we decided that we wanted the graphics to run fast. So it never checked. It would go out and it'd say, give me some memory, and it would never check to see if it got it. It just assumed it got it. And so if we didn't have 512 memory, we'd it'd crash and we'd get a Guru meditation error. And, you know, on retrospect, those were mistakes. If we were, you know, building a personal computer, we'd be sure to not do that now.
Like the original color scheme of the Amiga, there are a lot of people that don't like the white with the blue background. We sat there with TVs to try and figure out what colors on NTSC wouldn't just bleed horribly as you made the transition from the foreground color to the background color. And it turns out those colors work great.
Well, I had 3 monitors on my desk so I could check everything. I had the Sony we used because it had crisp graphics. I had a TV so that we'd see how badly it blurred. And I had that IBM 2-color thing just so we could see how badly it looked in 2 colors.
Do you remember some of the cheesy TVs we had?
Yeah.
Joe Schlag TV Company.
We went out and literally, we needed to test how the video would look on television. So we went out and we bought 10 televisions. And we went into this video store, I think it was the Good Guys or somebody, and we said, we want your worst TV. And the guy sort of looks at us and he says, well, okay, these guys don't really want the worst TV. And they say, we've got this great TV on sale. It's $279. And we say, no, you don't understand. I don't want a good TV on sale. I want the worst TV set you got in the store. And he sort of looks at us and says, well, this one's $375, and it's terrible. Great, we'll take it. Yeah. Wait, I should tell a Rob story. Rob Peck was my roommate, and this was a guy. He had an excellent talent. Rob Peck's talent was he could go into an engineer, get 5 minutes of explanation, and write a technical manual that was good.
He took so much abuse from us during those so much abuse. Get out of my office right now.
I remember when you were writing Graphicraft and Rob, and we were putting together the manual, but the program hasn't been written yet.
And then I had to turn around and make the program look exactly like those pictures.
A third-party vendor was doing this painting program they were going to call Graphicraft, and it was coming out pretty bad. And the only reasonable solution was to get someone who was going to be able to do it right. But you couldn't go find another company. You couldn't get, and there was all kinds of things got in the way with getting the job done. So Archie just did it. He went into his room and he did it.
Well, it was after 3 weeks of writing Intuition. He closed the door opened once. I remember it. The door opened once. The door closed.
And all those chicken bones
and he
came out.
And it came out. And he came into my office and he said, how do message ports work? So we went into a conference room. I explained message ports. He went back to his room. He closed the door. And like a week and a half later, he opened the door, and Intuition was done. And then there was Graphicraft, and it was like the next week it was Graphicraft. Closed the door, and then 3 weeks later, he opened the door, and Graphicraft was running, and you could use it.
There we were, working furiously designing this machine. Software guys with absolutely no hardware whatsoever to develop on. The hardware guys working like maniacs trying to get the hardware to work, failing miserably. The software guys were filled with glee. Because we got to take vacations, you know. We're sitting out in the back, smoking cigarettes, enjoying ourselves, you know. And no, I'm just kidding. We, in the software group, actually, were not willing to wait around for the hardware to come together, so we spent a lot of time pretending that we had hardware. And the way that we did that most often was to create little pieces of software that emulated the way the hardware would work, emulated the way those 3 custom chips would work. And it was starting to get real important for all of this stuff to come together well, because this is now getting on to the end of 1983, and we were starting to run out of money. It was starting to get pretty tight with money, and it became really apparent to us that we had to make a major showing of the stuff that we had done so far at the January CES show.
2 weeks before CES, we're getting ready to bring it in. Dale has worked out this stuff for line draw. There's no line draw in the hardware. And the other guys and the software guys saying, come on, Dave, you can do it. Put line draw on the hardware. What are you, nuts? There's 2 weeks before. These things break every time we breathe. You can't turn lights on and off. Some wire falls off the pin. You want me to change the design, rewire it. All these guys are going to go put line. You're out of your minds. No way. Bob Pariseau comes in and says, yeah, Dave, we have to have it, and jokingly grabs my arm. Mitchie, this nice little dog, this dog that I have not even pretended to like, leaps to my defense. Here, Pariseau was grabbing my arm, twisting it. Come on, Dave, you can do line. Mitchie jumps up, attacks poor Pariseau. What could I do? I did line draw. I had no choice. Mitchie came and saved me from a fate worse than death. And yep, so we did it. We squeezed and we ran and we screamed. And hours before CES in the middle of the night, you and Dale were in there writing code and stuff. And they were sitting in Chicago working under the bench.
So the hardware first came together about 9-10 days before the show. And the hardware guy said, here you go. Okay. So here's what they delivered to us. Most of you probably know that inside the Amiga are 3 high-performance chips. And the first pass at designing the hardware for the chips was, of course, not to actually do the chips, but to create something in hardware that performed like the chips would perform one day. This is actually an illustration of the Agnes chip. This is the real one, by the way. This is the one that we first had, the first one that came together. And I think there's eight breadboards on there. And each one of those boards had about 250 chips. So, you know, times 8, lots of chips. Unfortunately, lots of things can go wrong with lots of chips. And there were 3 of these, one for each of the chips. There was also a 4th one that was the breadboard itself. The whole machine also, by the way, was called Lorraine. Lorraine was our code name for what we were working on. Lorraine was the name of the president's wife, too. And at first, she was honored to have the machine named after her. She came in during those 9 days between when we got the hardware and CES, and she heard the things we were saying about Lorraine. Then she wasn't quite so honored. All the while that we were working, we had hardware guys that were constantly on call. Here, for instance, is a picture of one of them. They were there the entire time that we were there. There was always some hardware guys there. The software guys came and went. Dale Luck and I, in particular, worked there almost the entire time. Those entire 9 days, we worked nonstop trying to get stuff done. A lot of my work depended on the things that Dale was doing, and so I was constantly badgering him. Finally, come here. And he was, okay, I'm working real fast. I am. Here's a picture of Dale working real fast. What Dale was doing was he carried around his pillow with him the entire time that he was working there. And the computers that we're using at the time had a program on it that we wrote called Beep. You type in Beep, and it would beep. And it had a type ahead buffer, so you could type in an instruction and have the computer go ahead and do that instruction, which would take a while. And you'd also be able to type in beep long before it would actually be executed. So what we used to do, and Dale was an expert at this, he would carry his pillow with him at all times. He'd type in the compile instruction, type in beep, and go to sleep. 5 minutes later, beep, he said, oh yeah, oh, back to work, back to work. So, back to CES. This was our booth. They had on the right-hand side this little tiny part with, you know, games around the outside and joysticks and stuff. And over here on the left, they had this massive, huge area with no windows and no way to know what's going on inside of it, and one door with this enormous burly guy that said, yeah, what do you want? You know, anytime you wanted to come in, anytime we wanted to take anyone back there, we had to bribe the guy $50 to let us in, you know? Okay, go ahead. And inside that back room is where we showed the Amiga. The entire day of the show, we would bring people in one after another, and it was a great experience. And if you'll pardon my grammar, during the entire CES show, the one most oft-repeated comment that we heard was, oh, shit. Because, of course, no one had ever seen a computer back in 1983, or January of '84, do the kinds of things that this machine did. Here's a picture in the middle of the demonstration at CES. This is Bob Pariseau, who was the original Amiga evangelist, and boy, he used to do a song and dance that you wouldn't believe. The guy was incredible. Sitting next to him is Glenn Keller, one of the great hardware whizzes of the project. And it may look like that he's assisting Bob Pariseau at the demo, and Bob Pariseau is rolling merrily along, but in truth, the hardware just died. And it froze on a picture, fortunately, so Bob was able to continue as if everything was okay, but Glenn is working furiously in this photograph trying to get the thing to work again.
At CES, we'd always have the same failure every time. The same set of chips would blow up. And I knew which chips were. Glenn pointed them out the first time. Said, these are the chips that always blow up, Dave, every time we have this little static problem. Jay thought we were brilliant. The system would go down. Yeah, we'll go look at it. Change the same chips every time, no matter what was wrong. And it would fix it. It was a trick, Jay. It was a trick. We knew what died.
That's where the bouncing ball really started, was one late night at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And, but around 11 or 12 o'clock, I guess pretty much it was over. People were going to go back to their rooms, but RJ and I decided we had a few things we wanted to do back at the convention center where CES was. And so about 4 o'clock in the morning, after, I think we had about a 6-pack of warm beer left over too that we'd hidden in the, you know, those little stands that they put plants in. And I finally got it to where I thought it was reasonable, and I fell asleep. And about 8 o'clock in the morning, we got woke up by the guys coming back in to the booth, and they're like, their mouths were dropping, and they're going to go out and bring all the potential customers back in and say, look what this can do now. Later on, we finally did. We added some stuff that were desperately needed for the next CES show, and we added the horizontal so that it would bounce left to right besides just up and down. And one thing that it desperately needed was the sound. I envisioned something that was like boom, boom, like something really big and ominous and it was going to blow your socks off. And so we searched around to get just that right sound, and we finally, after a lot of experimentation, we got Bob Pariseau took one of these foam bats, and we had 2 of them that we used to work out disagreements, and was starting to hit different things. And then Sam would record the sound on his Apple II, and then he would massage the data so we could play it on the Amiga. And we finally came up with a perfect sound, which was Bob hitting an aluminum garage door, you know, one of those garage doors that goes up and down, and Sam on the other side with his microphone digitizing the sound that was reverberating through the garage. And so that's how the bouncing ball, the bong sound was developed.
And it was a great show. It was a moment of great success. You know, everyone who saw it was awestruck by the thing. A lot of the software developers agreed to get behind it. Some hardware people said, you know, it's interesting. We want to know more so we can start to design hardware for it. And we were ecstatic. We were in heaven. We did really well at the CES, and everyone was still working together. We still had that great passion, that great sense of pulling together as a team to get everything done, but it started to feel in the air as if it was going to go bad, because there was just less and less money all the time. It was getting harder and harder. You know, we knew the kind of debts we had run up with our creditors and the fact that we weren't paying them.
They never missed a payroll.
Didn't that have a lot to do with the prayer meeting?
Had a bit to do with me mortgaging my house, too.
Yeah, Jay did a lot of interesting personal sacrifice. There was a stock thing that you did that you changed stuff on, and you dragged money in from the house. Yeah, it was. I was lucky enough to be sitting 5 feet away from Jay while he was doing, you know, while we were doing stuff. Of course, the dog was there, but then after line draw, the dog was okay. But yeah, poor Jay on the phone. Well, okay, can I get a 0.25%? You know, and it was, yeah, it was a tough time, Jay. Thanks.
No. Well, I wouldn't have normally done that for a company, except it was my company, and I knew the product was, you know, I knew the product was solid concept. And we were so far ahead of everybody else at that time in terms of a really usable computer.
So then came Atari. And Atari said that they would make a deal to buy the company from us. And they, you know, they knew that we were real tight for cash, so they made a deal with us where they would advance us $500,000 to make our immediate payments. What we owed immediately. There was a payroll they do the next day that this whole thing came down. And then we would have 1 month to negotiate with them to come to a deal for them to buy the Amiga. And so Atari came in and they said, okay, we'll give you $1 a share for your Amiga stock. And we said, $1 a share? God, in our wildest dreams, we had thought $50 a share, you know, $75 a share. We're going to be rich. It's going to be great. God. $1 a share was ridiculously low. So Dave Morse said, you know, $1 a share is ridiculously low. And the Atari guy said, okay, how about 85 cents a share? So wait, at Harvard they told me you go up, I go down, you know. And the truth was that Atari knew the condition that we were in, and Atari was not interested in buying us. Atari was interested, for reasons of its own, in buying just the machine. They didn't want to buy the group. They wanted to just get the technology. Now we're down to the last few days before the end of the end of the agreement, where we either have to come up with the bread for Atari, or they would get the company. And then the phone rang, and it was Commodore calling. And Commodore said, well, we can make you a much better deal than that, you know. So they send out their plane, and Dave Morse hops in the plane, and he flies out to Westchester, Pennsylvania, or New York, or wherever it was. And what follows then are 3.5 days of intense negotiations, where, you know, they're hammering out one detail after another. What's going to happen? Dave's interested in the people. Oh, this and that and the other thing. And they go back and forth, and they're trying to get everything worked out so that, you know, the deals are just right. And you know, when you don't cut a deal like this in 3 days without working well into the night. And here it is, the last night, and these guys, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, what are we going to do? And they're dancing, you know, to keep themselves awake. Keep going here. And now it's the last minute, and there's the jets out in the parking lot with its, you know, revved up against its brakes, and, you know, everyone's around the table, and they say to Morris, they say, $4. $4 a share. That's our final offer. You're out of time. You can either accept it or, you know, not, and go with Atari. And he says, I don't know. Let me check with my people. He goes, gives Jay a call. He says, $4. Jay says, well, it's not 50, but, you know, it's $4 is okay. If you think it's right, go with it. And he calls up, you know, the other guy's a VP of marketing, the VP of sales. What do you think? Well, you know, it's not what we had in mind, but it's better than zero. I'll go with it. And everyone said, okay. So he went back to the table and he sat down. He said, sorry, my people say $4 is not enough. I'm going to have to decline your offer. They said, well, how about for a quarter? He said, okay. I don't know about you guys, but I would not have the nerve to look down a barrel of a gun like that. So they write him out a check for $500,000. He hops in a jet. He flies back to Atari headquarters. He walks in the front door. The lawyers are big fat lawyers with their huge cigars. Morse, yeah, glad to see you. Come on in. We got some papers for you. He takes that check. He slams it down on the table. He says, see you, boys. I got a plane to catch. Yeah! God. Oh.
And all of a sudden there was Commodore and there was money. Yeah. And then there was a big building and the blueprints. Remember the blueprints?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is how we're going to do the offices. And like, how do you want to do software? How do you want to do hardware? That was Los Gatos building. And,
we went back to Commodore to negotiate the future of the machine and the closure of the deal. And Dave Morse told me, don't insist on an expansion port. I says, but Dave, we've got to have an expansion port. You know, who's going to buy a computer that you can't expand?
Right.
And I insisted, you know. And Dave said, well, you know, we're liable to not close the deal, and you're liable to lose your job. And
All right.
That's the way it
We're
is.
glad
So
you did.
Commodore gave in and said, okay, expansion port.
There'd be no Amiga today if it weren't for that.
I think so too.
So the getting of the machine to slide from a game machine into a business machine happened relatively effortlessly, like I was saying, for two reasons. First of all, because the hardware guys were smart all along, and second of all, because the base of the operating system was designed such that it could do that. All right, we had a multitasking, library, device, interrupt-driven, preemptive, priority-based operating system in a game machine. So how did it happen? I mean, where did that come from? I mean, I know where it came from for me. I joined the company because it was a dream that I wanted to chase. Was that the same, you know, with everyone in general, or?
Yeah, I think so.
To say that it was just a family atmosphere doesn't really say it, but I think that there was, I was working late at night, working on a CES, and it wasn't, we've got to get this done or the company's going to fail. It was like, of course we've got to get this done. This is our collective effort. This was, I don't know how to describe it, but there was camaraderie, family. It doesn't really describe it, but there was people. It was kind of like all the cousins, all the brothers and sisters and cousins were in this office in this room together. We're all working because there weren't people beating us. There weren't stockholders. It was just, we've got to get this thing done, and we've got to do what we have to do to make it happen.
There was the dream of the machine, and there was the dream of the company. And the dream of the company was, when we went to work there, we were offered stock of the company. We owned the company, and we knew that there weren't a lot of big investors. I mean, there was Jay, and there was Dave, and we knew them. They worked there. It wasn't like mystery people investing in this company. It was our company. I mean, we really felt, at heart, it was our company. Jay and Dave made us feel that way.
But you know, I've heard a lot of people say interesting things here. Howard's trying to find a word to describe it. You're talking about the group here and stuff like that. For the first few years after Amiga, you probably know I spoke a lot. I told the story of the early days of the Amiga a lot, and invariably by the time I'd get, you know, I'm running out of time, I got to kind of wrap things up here, I'd get to talking about what it really meant from my own perspective, what we were trying to do, what it really meant to us. And I would always end up feeling sappy, you know, like, because I mean, like, you know, how it's unreasonable to talk about a business as, you know, we weren't just friends, we were friends, and we weren't just doing a job or creating a machine, we were chasing a dream. The most important thing I learned of all of this was, you know, when I'm just this kid from the south side of Chicago, you know, and I got involved in this whole thing, but I'm still just this guy. And the truth of the matter is that anyone could do this. I proved that finally to myself, that I could go off and follow a dream and have it come true for me. And you could too. Yeah, this is a good one. Because again, we're coming up to CES, and it's last minute, everyone's racing like mad to get their demos done, and Parasos, you know, being the correct boss. Okay, it's time, we gotta go now, it's time to pack up the equipment. And the software guys, no, wait, one more change, and they're unplugging our keyboards, and we're walking out the door, you know, to try to program. And they left us like an hour and a half before the flight, and you know, we're all looking at each other with these big blurry eyes. Well, what do we do now? I don't know. Well, maybe we ought to go home and pack. Oh, yeah, good idea. So I went home to pack, and I'm going to get, you know, I figure just throw some clean clothes in a bag and fold it up. It'll take me an hour or something. And I get home, and there's no clean clothes anywhere. There's just this lumps of stuff. Well, okay, I'll just pack it like this. I'll wash it in Vegas. Okay, that's fine. And okay. Now I got a half hour to kill before I'm supposed to go to the airplane. I'm looking around and look at the bed. I say, man, I'm so exhausted. Just a little rest. I won't fall asleep, just a little rest. So my whole body says, yeah, that's a good idea. But the brain says, no, don't do it. So I didn't do it. I went into my kitchen and I found the stiffest upright back chair to sit in so that I wouldn't fall asleep. And it was only the fact that I started to asphyxiate that I woke up. I woke up, I was already late for the plane. And this is the whole Amiga crew, all of us going to big CES, you know, the company's hinging on this. And the plane was already supposed to have taken off by the time I left my house. And I lived like 15 minutes from the airport. And due to distortions in Einsteinian time-space continuum, I drove so fast that I got there before I left my home. But it was too late. I got to the plane. The plane was already gone. It was there. It had pulled back, and they pulled the ladder back and all this stuff. But the door was closed, but it was not moving. It was sitting right there. And so I'm begging God, please, my God, please, let me get back up. But no, too late. So it's closed. And I'm finding every official. Come on, please. Oh, sorry. And then I found this person, a woman, wearing the orange jumpsuit.